Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this rescheduled life hacking event. We've shifted the schedule around a little bit. I am just here to introduce you to our speaker and to introduce our speaker to you. And going to talk to us about strategies to succeed. This is Dr. Kimberly Coladoye.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Jennifer. It is a pleasure to be here with you all today. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I want to respect your time. I think that we will have opportunities to ask questions at the end, but if you have any questions as we go, just feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will attempt to get to them as the presentation concludes. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Cisco WebEx is not my favorite platform, but I will do my best, okay? So let's see. I'm just going to share my screen because I'm going to be going a few different places. And if someone can just tell me if you can see my screen okay.
Yes, your screen looks good.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so thanks, Roxana. Got that too. So again, I am Dr. Kimberly Coladoye. I'm a professor and the program coordinator of academic student success here at Houston Community College. For most of you guys, that is EDUC 1300 Learning Framework, a course that many of you have taken or will take, and I hope that you find the course useful. Today, I will be presenting to you strategies to succeed. So we're going to focus today on reading, studying, and managing your time in a way that will help you be successful, especially in this online environment. So I am just going to start by asking a question. I want you to respond to me in the chat if you don't mind. How are online classes similar to your face-to-face classes? And how are they different? So go ahead and just drop that in the chat, and we will see what you guys are thinking. How are they similar? Okay, I see online on the schedule. Good, right? So you still have a schedule. Thanks, Roxana. Who else is out there? Good, thanks, Erica. Yes, you're right. There's still a lecture, especially if you're in a synchronous course. Okay, thanks, Jessica. You both have set due dates. That's correct. Very good. And Roxana says they're very similar to face-to-face classes. I think that's the point that I want us all to kind of to understand. They're similar in expectations as well. Thank you so much, Francesca. You're correct in that although they have some differences, they're very similar. And so we have to treat them accordingly. So let's talk a little bit on how we should approach that. Thank you, Tesneem. Tesneem says that we have assignments and exams, and that's true. Regardless of whether it's online or in person, you are going to be tested. So you're definitely right about that. I think that what we see is that there are more similarities than there are differences. But let's talk about what we can do to manage. Thank you all for responding. For one, and I'm going to give you like 10 tips to help you manage. Ahmad says that there are some differences, and I agree. We'll talk a little bit about those differences as we go. Thanks so much for responding. So one is that you have to manage your class time, right? If you are taking a class like an online on a schedule class, it's so basically it's synchronous. That means that of course you are going to have to attend class. You cannot just sit, you can't just skip class. It's easy to skip class when you're at home, right? You may just oversleep, just like you would if you were in person, right? Things can happen, but it is best for you to make sure that you are in class, and that's whether you are online or in person at all. The next thing you can do is, if you're taking an online anytime class, it's important to set a time for your class, right? And attend to the work of that class during that time. I know online anytime means you can do it anytime, but what happens when we do things anytime? Sometimes that anytime never comes. So it's great if we can create a schedule for ourselves, and we know that at 10 o'clock, at 10 o'clock every Monday and Wednesday, I should be working on calculus, okay? We also can create a daily schedule for ourselves and follow, because procrastination does happen. And I know a lot of us are at home during this pandemic, and you aren't necessarily, maybe going out for work or coming and going the way you used to. But it's easy to like sleep in, even though it feels good. Like we wake up at 9 or 10 o'clock and then we start our day. Well, if that happens, it kind of sets us back a little bit. So it's great to like give yourself a schedule just as if you were carrying on your normal life. Wake up at 8:30 every morning, get dressed, do breakfast until 9:30, start classes at 9:30, do calculus at 10 o'clock on Mondays and Wednesdays, do your English course on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 o'clock from 10 to 12. Give yourself a set schedule and a set time to attend to the work during that class, and then you will always have time for the work. You won't end up in a situation where you are trying to figure out ways to get all this work done at the last minute. If you know you have class at 10 o'clock on Mondays and Wednesdays, then act like you're going to class at 10 o'clock on Mondays and Wednesdays. You also are going to have to manage your personal time. And I know you guys are doing a great job of that right now. And some of us can use a little help in this area. Well, I would say to you, a lot of people ask me, like, what is the trick to time management? Like, how do I manage my time? And I can honestly tell you that there's no trick. There's no magic remedy. I think it all has to do with your goals. What do you want to do? What are your long-term goals? And once you can clearly identify your long-term goals, you can prioritize your schedule. If your long-term goal is to graduate in May 2022 with your associate's degree, and you have 30 credits left to earn in order to make that a reality, what are you going to do to prioritize your schedule? Are you going to reduce the amount of time you work so that you have time to take the classes that you need to take? Are you going to play sports less in order to make sure you have time to study? When we think about our goals, we can quickly remove things from our lives that distract us from those goals. So if we always keep our goals in mind, then we can do the things that align with those goals. And so we are able to say, okay, well, if my goal is to graduate, then I know that I can't take on this second job because that's not going to allow me enough time to do my schoolwork, okay? Also keep in mind that regardless of whether we are in person or online, you need to give yourself 6 hours a week to study and prepare for each 3 credit hour course. So if you're taking 4 classes, right, that is what, 24 hours you're going to need to study and prepare, that to meet with your classmates, to read your textbooks before you come to class, to work on assignments, and to do all of those things. So give yourself at least 6 hours per week for each 3 credit hour class and put it into your schedule. Another thing we can do is we can beware of sneaky deadlines, okay? Because I know in high school it's easier because your teachers are telling you, you have a test on Friday, you have a test on Friday. In college, we put it on the syllabus. And it's up to you most times to remember to make sure that you get everything done. So the first thing I can tell you is that you have to read the syllabus for each course. I know what you really want to do is you want to pick up that syllabus, just go to the portion that tells you what textbook you need. You may look at the grading, and then you go to the calendar, right? And then some of you, and I think a lot of us can admit to this, we put that calendar down and we put the syllabus down and we don't look at it anymore during the semester until we ask a question our professor says it's in the syllabus, right? So keep up with your syllabus, okay? Identify all of your due dates. So for each one of your classes, you want to take the syllabus for that course, and you are going to take your due dates and place it on your calendar. You are going to use, so if you have 5 essays due in your, if you have 5 essays due over the course of the semester, you find out when those due dates are and place them all on one calendar. Now, we have to use a calendar at this point. I don't think that we have an option. And it's okay if you want to use your phone, if you want to use paper, or you want to use Canvas, but you have to use a calendar. Also, you want to place begin by dates on your calendar. So if you have an essay due on March 27th, then maybe on March 12th, you may say, do the research for the essay. Then by March 15th, you'll say, write the first draft for the essay, okay? So give yourself begin by dates so that you can kind of pace yourself as you are heading into some of these due dates. So I want you to repeat that process for each one of your classes, okay? But you want to make sure to use one calendar. So get all of your classes, get the syllabi for each one of your classes, take all the due dates, put it on that one calendar, walk yourself back to give yourself begin dates for some major assignments or things that are going to take a lot of time, and you place them in on one calendar in one place so that you're not looking all over the place trying to figure out where what's due and when it's due, and you have to find the syllabus and grab that syllabus, and we won't have to do that. If we do this at the beginning of each semester, we'll have one calendar, we'll have all our due dates in one place, and we'll be ready and on our way to be successful. Now, something else I want to tell you is that Canvas is a great tool, right? You can use the Canvas feed on your calendar to feed to your cell phone calendar. So a lot of you guys, like, you use Gmail, and on your calendar you have like your Gmail calendar, and that works, right? So let me just show you how you can do that. So I think you guys are all going to get a copy of this PowerPoint, and you'll see this link in the PowerPoint, but I'm just going to click it. And it's going to tell you to some step by steps on how to put the feed into your calendar. Okay. Now, can you guys see my screen? I'm in Canvas. Can you see? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so let me show you. So when you're in Canvas, right, you have your calendar, and you are, you see, like, so I have 2 classes active, and of course, you know, you have to go in and you have to like click on the box next to the calendar so that it adds each one of those classes to your menu. Okay, so as you can see, I have my calendar, and it's going to show assignments for all 3 of these courses. You'll see that they are color coded, and you can just scroll and see. Okay, so here's my calendar. Now, what do I need to do in order to make this calendar go to my Google Calendar so that it's on my cell phone and I don't have to like toggle between this calendar and my Google Calendar? So just at the very bottom, you'll see where it says calendar feed. Just click that, and you'll get this link. So all you have to do there is go to the link, and I just push Control A and Control C. So just copy this link. Okay. Now, what do you do next? Well, you go to your Gmail. Okay, so I already have my Gmail calendar open. So go to your Gmail and go to your calendar. And if you don't know where your Gmail is, you can see when you go to your Gmail, you have the calendar over here on the right. It's right there. Just click it and go. I always click it and make it larger so that if you just click this little open a new tab, then you get a new tab. So you have this new tab, right? And so now what should you do? Okay, so you'll see that I have things on my calendar. It's Brittany's birthday, and so I know I have that on my calendar. But then I want to add my Canvas information to the calendar. So I'm going to click this little plus where it says add other calendars. And then I'm going to click from URL, and then paste the link from our other, from Canvas, and then click add calendar. And then you'll see all of your assignments from Canvas on your Gmail calendar, and everything will be in one place. You can do the same thing with Outlook or your Apple calendars. It still works the same. All you have to do is add a calendar and then do it from the link. I think that a lot of students have told me that's been very helpful. Okay, so let's keep moving. So we won't have to worry about sneaky deadlines if we do our due diligence to make sure we get everything on our calendars. Another thing is that you have to check your email regularly. I know, right? We do not want our, we have all these emails coming at us, and you know, you may have, I'm sure a lot of you work, you may have email from work, you have email from friends, and then now we have to add our email from school, but it's imperative that you do, because your professors are sending you information that you are going to need, and you need to make sure that you are aware. Okay, so if you have a hard time keeping up with your calendar, you can set up a reminder on your calendar to check your email, okay? So that you can just maybe put a reminder on your calendar like every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. to check your email, check your HCC email, okay? Make sure that you're not missing anything. You also want to download your learning management system app. So, you know, Canvas has an app, right? So you can go to the Android store, or what is it, Google Play Store, or the App Store, and you can download the Canvas app. And then when you have the app on your phone, then you can get feeds, like anytime your professor gives an announcement, it will pop up on your phone. If you have due dates, it pops up on your phone. So the Canvas app can be very helpful as well. It also will tell you like what your averages are in each class by just a simple glance. So all you have to do is open up your Canvas app, and it'll show you that in this class you have a 94%, that class you have a 92%, because you're doing excellent, because you are an excellent student. Also, make sure that you set your notifications in Canvas to push messages from Canvas to you. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, in your Canvas course, you'll see that for each one of your classes, you have like all these options on the right, but you want to make sure it says view course notifications, that you take some time there in each one of your courses and push the information that you need. So if there's a due date coming up, do you want an email? I would click it and turn it on, and I will push it. If I think it's important for announcements, to make sure you turn those on. Grading, like if you get a new grade, turn that on. All you have to do is click it and it turns green, and now it's pushed. Submissions turn in, late grading, whatever case may be, comments, I would just turn them all on, so that anytime you get any information from your professors or your classes, then you know that you are still where you're supposed to be, and you know the information that you're supposed to have. Okay. Okay, so there are also some time management apps I think that may help you as well. There's one called Rescue Time. It's a pretty good app where it monitors your time and like blocks your distractions. So it kind of, it knows how long you're supposed to be spending on certain tasks. And it will, it also can like block social media or text messages from coming through if you're working on something. Another one is called Remember the Milk, which is like a task reminder. So if you put in Remember the Milk that you have an essay due on March 24th, it's going to automatically create reminders for you. So remember, as I mentioned, you need to put reminders for yourself on your calendar. Remember the Milk will do it for you. And it will tell you, okay, a week out, you need to have done this part, or 3 days out, you need to have done this part. MLO is My Life Organized, which is a really good one as well. It monitors your time, it organizes your tasks, and it helps you prioritize. So it looks to see like how far out, like if you have a test on April 5th, but you have an essay on March 27th, it's going to prioritize your time for you. It will tell you in March, like, be working on this essay, do your research, do this part. And then as soon as the essay is getting closer to the due date for that essay, you'll start getting reminders about the test coming up. Like you have a test coming up in 2 weeks, make sure that you've done this part, that you've studied, or whatever the case may be. So you might like that one. And then this one, I think Pocket is really good. It really saves me. I don't know about you, but I can fall down a rabbit hole. Like, you know, we go to the internet to look at something, and then like, you know, you see all these interesting ideas, like, or these interesting articles, they start popping up, and you're like, oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? You know, and then next thing you know, an hour has passed and you have not done anything that you were supposed to be doing, but you are well read and you are well informed, and there's value in that too. But in order to stay on topic and to try to make sure that we continue to do the things that we need to do, this app called Pocket, what it does is that, like, if you see an article that you want to read, because I know a lot of times we like don't want to lose the article, right? So we can just put it into our pocket, and then we can go back once we're done with all of our work, and we can read all those different articles that we wanted to read. So it just kind of keeps up with the different links and websites that you wanted to view. And so that way you don't have to feel like you have to do it right now, and you can kind of save some of these things for later when you actually have the time to do it. So those are just a few time management apps that may help. Number 5, actively learn and study after class. So I'm going to talk to you about this in great detail, but you have to annotate your textbook while you're reading. What do I mean by that? As you can see in that picture, you'll see that someone has annotated those pages, right? They've highlighted, they've written notes. That's annotating. So we can't just sit and read and expect that everything will be fine. Well, we did what we're supposed to do. We read, and now we're good to go. It doesn't really work that way. You also want to take notes from lectures and videos. I know that when you are listening to a lecture in an online environment, I think it's even worse than when you're listening to lectures in person. But you have to take your notes, and you have to pay attention to the videos that your instructors are posting during class or after class, and pay attention to the lectures that they're giving. If they are recording their lectures, always make sure to go back. I mean, that's one of the cool things about being in this online environment, that a lot of your lectures are recorded and you can go back and view them and continue to take notes there. Now, one thing I've noticed is that you can't take notes from the lecture or the video when you're not ready to take notes from the lecture or the video, meaning that you are laying in your bed. You have your screen on, or you have your camera on, or you're paying attention and you're watching the class, but you're laying in bed, right? How do you take notes when you're laying in bed? You can't do that. Get up, get your notebooks ready, get your pens and pencils out, get your highlighters, and be ready to take notes just like if you were sitting in class. Review daily. I know some people say every single day. Every single day. If you want to remember things, you have to review them every single day, and I'll show you why in just a second. Review your notes weekly and quiz yourself over what you're supposed to be remembering. So if you take notes every day during class, at the end of the week, you should take some time and review the notes that you wrote for that week, and then quiz yourself and see what information you remember versus what information you don't, so that you know that that's the information that you need to go back and study. A lot of your professors are giving you these optional learning activities where they're saying, okay, here you need to complete this, this, and this for a grade, but here's some extra practice. And a lot of us don't do the extra practice. I don't know why we don't do the extra practice, because practice makes perfect, right? Or close to it. And we need to make sure that we are doing everything we possibly can in order to improve our abilities to learn. So if you have any extra optional learning activities that your professor gives you, take some time and do them. And remember, if you created a schedule for yourself and you gave yourself 6 hours for each class each week, then you will have time to do those optional learning activities. And then finally, I want you to practice information differently. So for example, let's say you're studying you're studying in an anatomy class, okay? And you're supposed to remember all these different parts of the body. And so you are supposed to, so some of us we will look at, basically we'll write these parts of the body down, and then we'll look at the definitions of them, okay? So that's one way to study. So the word, then the definition, okay? Another way to study would be study that way, words and the definitions, then go back and study backwards, to study the definitions and match the words. Then study go look at get a diagram of the human body and study where those words or those places are located on the body, right? So now you studied the information 3 different ways, right? So it's one thing to like study something and remember it, but if you can study it multiple ways, then it is more likely to stay in your memory. If we don't study, what's going to happen? Well, I'm here to tell you something that you probably already know. We will forget, right? But how fast do we forget? I think some of us are overconfident in our abilities to remember things. And I know you guys, I'm sure many of you are much younger than I am, but we all still need to work hard to remember. Let's talk about why. If I give you some information and I immediately ask you to recall it, more than likely you are going to remember it at close to about 100% accuracy. But if we wait just 20 minutes, most of us will be able to remember about 58% of the information that was explained. If we wait 9 hours, so like later that day or maybe even the next morning, depending upon what time we got the information, we're only going to remember about 36% of what we're supposed to remember. And 6 days later, so that means that if I gave you this information today and you did nothing with it all week, and then next week it's time for you to come back to that class again, you're only going to remember about 25% of what you're supposed to remember. And then finally, when it's time for us to take our tests, right? Most of us, we learn information, maybe weeks and weeks and weeks of information, and then we have a test maybe 4 weeks in. That's close to about 31 days. Look at this. We are going to remember at about 21% accuracy. So what does that tell us? One is that we are going to forget, which we already knew. Two is that we have to take time to review information periodically if we really want to remember that information. And if we don't do that, so if we don't do any type of practice exercises, we don't write any notes, we don't review our notes, we don't quiz ourselves, that when it's time for us to study for a test, we're almost starting at zero. So you're starting at like 20%. So things will sound familiar, but you don't remember exactly what it was you were supposed to know. So it's very important to review our information on a weekly, daily basis, just to make sure that we are pushing that information from our short-term memories to our long-term memories. Now let's talk a little bit more about reading. I want to talk to you a little bit about reading to remember, because I know a lot of you guys, you're doing your best, right? You're reading and you're giving yourself time to read. Some of us aren't reading, but for those of us who aren't reading, we can still work on that, okay? Let's talk about how to read to remember. One is that we want to remove all distractions when we're actually reading. So our phones, our social media, people, if it's difficult, sometimes to read when you're around other people. So try to remove all the distractions when you sit down to do your reading for your courses. Next, you want to survey your reading before you begin. So take a moment and figure out, kind of look through your reading and see about how much reading you're going to be expected to do, okay? Look to see if you can figure out what the ideas are that are going to be presented. Does anything look familiar? Do you know anything about that subject already? And so forth, okay? I mentioned this earlier, I'm going to mention it again. Take notes, annotate. Most of us end up falling asleep when we read because we're not doing anything. We're just reading, right? And so if you're actually writing while you're reading, most people don't fall asleep doing math homework because you're doing something and writing something, looking at something and writing something. If you do the same thing when you're reading for your textbooks, you'll have the same type of experience, okay? Now, you're not a robot. It's hard to sit and read a book, especially it's even a lot more difficult to sometimes sit and stare at a screen as you're reading all your different ebooks in your classes or different articles that your professors have posted for you to read. Well, give yourself some breaks, right? If you know you have to read 30 pages, maybe you can schedule yourself some breaks, maybe every 10 minutes, you can take a 2-minute break. So read for 10 minutes, take a 2-minute break, read for 15 minutes, take a 3-minute break, and so forth, okay? Schedule yourself some breaks because our eyes need time to kind of rest, especially when we're reading on screens. If you are reading on screens, another thing you can do if you have to read for a long time is to progressively enlarge the text as you read. So let's say you have to read something that's going to take you about an hour. Maybe the first 20 minutes, you're going to read it where the text is on a 12-point font. And then the next 20 minutes, you'll read with the text on a 14 font. And the next few minutes, you'll read with the text on a 20 font, right? Because what that's doing is that is helping your eyes adjust, right? And so it's reducing the strain that you're putting on your eyes. And then finally, periodically review what you read. So if you read 3 screens of information, take a moment, ask yourself, what is it that I'm supposed to know? What is it that I was supposed to remember? And then go from there, okay? If you can't remember, then that's when you know you need to go back. Or you can refer to your notes that you've taken as you were writing because you were annotating and taking notes. Something else we can do to help us when we're reading online is to make sure that we adjust the computer lighting. A lot of times, a lot of us have our computers set so that they automatically adjust, but some of us don't, especially if we're using a reader of some sort, like a Kindle or something. So you can adjust your computer lighting so that as it gets darker, you get more light and so forth, so that, again, you're reducing the strain on your eyes. Use the ebook tools like readers, Post-its, highlighters. A lot of your textbooks have the ability for the book to be read to you, right? So take a moment, go into your textbooks. I know if you're using MindTab or you're using your Macmillan or McGraw-Hill Connect, they all have a lot of times, I would say almost all of them have some way for the text to be read to you. And it's a good way to kind of rest your eyes and then kind of take a break and actually do some writing instead of just having to read everything yourself. Your books online also have Post-its where you can take notes and you can post, if you're reading something, just as you would annotate on your text, you can type it. And then a lot of times you can print that page of notes. Use highlighters, whether you're doing it on a piece of paper or you're actually doing it online. Highlight important points, because when you highlight them in your textbooks online, it will still be there. So when you come back to study, you'll already have the information highlighted. And the same is true if you're using a physical textbook. If you have the ability to download the ebook, which a lot of you do, a lot of your apps have, a lot of these different publisher websites allow you to download the book, so that you're not necessarily needing, to be on the internet to use the book. I know a lot of you are sharing computers, or you're sharing the internet with other people in your households. I mean, a few weeks ago when we had like no electricity, those downloaded books would come in handy as well, right? So you can also listen while you drive for review, because remember I told you there are readers. Most of your textbooks have a reader where the book can be read to you. And you can, if you're using it on your cell phone, you can hook it up to your Bluetooth. And while you're riding around, you can be listening to your textbook being read to you. Just like we listen to audiobooks now, your textbooks have the same features. I say that's a good idea to review, because of course you can't write while you're doing that, but if it's something that you've already read and you've written notes on it, I think it's a great idea to just ride and listen to it being read to you again, just to kind of help you remember. If you can discuss your reading with someone, that is a fantastic tool, because if you can explain something, you know it. If you can't explain it, you don't know it. So if you can explain with one of your classmates, that'd be a great opportunity to quiz yourself. Or you can explain it to someone in your household. You know, they may be very interested in what you're talking about, or they may not, but they can act interested. And us taking the time to explain it will help us identify any areas that we have some misunderstandings. And then finally, if you don't understand what you read, don't just sit there in confusion, right? There is a world of resources available online. If you don't understand how a topic was explained in this textbook, Google it and go find it explained somewhere else. The way I got through statistics was not because I had a fantastic teacher. He was just way too advanced for me. The textbook helped, but I went to YouTube and I learned how to do all of the statistical maneuvers that I needed to do in order to pass graduate statistics. So, I mean, there are a lot of resources out there, and you can use them to help. Number 7, use all of the resources your professors provide. Okay, so read the weekly announcement. Yes, Khan Academy is great. YouTube is great. There are so many resources out there. Just Google. You'll find that there are all kinds of resources available. So read the weekly announcements. Read your chapter notes. Your professors are giving you PowerPoint notes a lot of times that have already kind of summarized information. Read them, right? Use your textbook or your e-textbook to take notes, as I've mentioned to you before. And if you have any questions or concerns, attend virtual office hours. Your professors are on campus, or there are, in some cases, they're on campus, very few cases, right? But most of us are available online at different times. All you need to do is log on, right? From the comfort of your home, you could be in your pajamas and you can talk with your professors and get some answers to questions you may have. So use those opportunities to engage with your professors, and also just so your professors know who you are. I'm going to talk with you a little bit about eliminating distractions overall. I mentioned it when we were referencing reading, but just eliminating distractions overall. One, again, is to turn your phone on silent. We underestimate how much these things can distract us. Also keep in mind that you have fave options, right? Or your ICE options, so that even if you put your phone on silent, there are certain people who can still contact you. Your phone will still ring if those people call you or text you. So use those options on your cell phones, right? To help you silence your phone while you're doing the work you need to do. Thanks, yes, ICE in case of emergency. You can have those people designated on your cell phone, and if they call, even if your phone's on silent, you'll get to hear from them. Right. So another thing you can do is study when no one else is home. I know a lot of times that is probably the hard to do, especially in a situation where students, a lot of students are back in class, but some students are still working from home. And as parents, you may be trying to help them with their schoolwork and so forth. Or so if you can't do it while they're not home, maybe you can do it while they're asleep. Okay, so sometimes if we can't get away from them, even though we love them, we still need to, we can find quiet times in which we can do our work. There are also some more apps. I love apps to help us kind of manage our days. There are some more apps that will help you that will help you eliminate these different distractions. There's another one called Freedom that just blocks the internet from your phone, so like it will only ring if someone calls you. There's another one called Focus Me, which like blocks sites, it sets timers and launch limits. So for example, like a lot of us don't realize we are addicted to social media, and you may launch anytime you have some downtime. You just like, go to Twitter or Instagram and you're there for a few minutes and then you get back to work. Focus Me will give you launch limits. So that means that you can only open like your Instagram app 10 times that day. And once you've reached your 10 times, that's it. You can't open it anymore on your cell phone, right? So Focus Me will help you do that. There's another one that's Leech Blocks that will help you block certain websites at certain times of the day. So like, if you're working from like 10 to 3, then these different websites are going to be blocked. So they're not going to send notifications to your cell phone, and you'll get them all once that time period is over. Or you can, if you don't want to do apps, you can just use your cell phone to set timers that can remind you, okay, take your breaks, or it's time for you to finish working on whatever the case may be. We're almost to the end, but I want you to know that HTC is here to help you. I mean, I know sometimes it's hard to feel that connection and that help when you are kind of stuck behind this computer screen, but there are lots of people who are here to help you if you get stuck. You can ask your professors for help. A lot of times some of us just feel so awkward about doing that, but I'm here to tell you that your professors want to help you and they will be open to help you. All you have to do is ask, okay? Ask for extensions if you need them. Like, if you have something going on and you're not going to be able to turn something in on time, you can very respectfully ask if there's any way you can receive an extension. Be prepared for your professors to say no, just in case, and try to figure out a way to get it done. But a lot of your professors will be very understanding if you approach them before the due date has passed and you've missed the assignment. You can also get online tutoring. We have upswing.io, and you can just go to that website. You can put in any questions you may have, and then you will get responses back. You can submit essays to be checked or to be edited, or even to help you understand like how to expand or how to explain something better. They can do that for you on Upswing. And then there's live video tutoring, right? You can get tutoring live, like just like I'm talking to you right now. You can meet with tutors and they will help you. All you have to do is make an appointment. So you can call that number 713-718-8184, or you can just go to like your My Ego tab, and as you can see, there's a tab there for Find a Tutor. Click on that Find a Tutor, and you'll see that there's ways to schedule tutoring, live tutoring, or even if you want to just get tutoring again, where you send something off and you receive something back. So there are lots of ways to get some help. And then finally, I'll say this: identify a you strategy. What works for you? For me, when I have a lot of work to do, I make it hot in my house because I like it cold. And if it gets cold, I get sleepy. So if it is like in the summer, if I have a lot of work to do, I do not turn on the air conditioning until I'm almost done with my work, because that way I will stay up if I'm kind of a little uncomfortable. Some of us, we need to exercise before we get started, or we need to do our work and take a break, go exercise, wake ourselves back up, and then get back to work, okay? Some of us, we are snackers. Now let's try to do healthy snacks, because we don't want to give ourselves any health problems from over snacking. But as you can see, those are some pretty healthy snacks. Maybe instead of eating your breakfast all at once, you may want to take, eat a little something, and then after you finish certain tasks, you can eat something else, and so forth. But whatever you do, whatever works for you, that's okay. Okay, so it's your youth strategy. Whatever you do, whatever you need in order to help you be successful. And I think that that is probably one of the most helpful tips I think I can give you. And finally, be kind to yourself. Being a student is difficult. Being a student in an online environment is even more difficult. And I mean, you guys are doing, I mean, excellent in doing in maneuvering through this online environment. A lot of us are learning as we go, and we're just impressed with all the work that everyone has put forward, how many of you are learning technologies that you never even heard of, and you're mastering them and doing excellent in your classes. And if you're not, if you're struggling, that's okay too, because tutoring is available for people to show you even just how to use Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. YouTube is available to learn how to do different things, okay? So ask your professors, talk with your classmates, go to tutoring, and just be kind to yourself. Give yourself the time that you need in order to master all of the information and the tasks that are being required of you this semester in your courses. So again, I'm Dr. Kimberly Cole-Doye. You have my email address there, and I am available if you have any questions or comments, or you need me to elaborate on anything I discussed today. You can feel free to contact me at my email address. And it was just a pleasure having the opportunity to speak with all of you. I believe we have time. Ms. Crispin, do we have time for questions, or are there any in the chat?
We do have time for questions. I think you've already covered all the ones that were in the chat so far.
Okay, great.
Going to check to make sure.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Yes, it looks like you did get all the questions that were asked during your presentation.
Okay, no problem. I have a point. Someone says, Ahmad Fazil, you said send your note to us. What did you? Can you explain that a little bit more? I want to make sure I can get something to you if you need it. You're welcome, Roxana, Francesca, Bryant. Thank you. Oh, Melissa, you're so very welcome. I'm glad that brightening your screen works, Tambala. I think it does work, and changing that font size really works too. Like when you get tired, like make the screen larger, and you can push through it probably a good another 30 minutes or so. Well, you all are so welcome. I think I don't see any questions, but you are so welcome. Thank you so much for having me. Again, it's been a pleasure to be here. I'm Dr. Kimberly Cole-Doye. You have my email address. I believe you will get a copy of this PowerPoint and this presentation. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cole-Doye, for this informative presentation. So the event will be available for playback via our Student Life YouTube channel, and they've been getting that up pretty quickly. All attendees who stayed for the entire event will be placed in a raffle, and 3 $25 gift cards will be awarded to the winners. So please be on a lookout for an email that you're a winner via your student email. If you're attending this event for Eagle Points will be awarded within 2 business days of this event. And remember, next week is spring break. Yay! So we won't have an event next week. Join us again Tuesday, March 23rd for 10 things you need to know about work. And you can go to our presence page, or the Student Life presence page, for registration. I'm copying and pasting that into the chat to make it convenient to sign up. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to stop the recording now, but we can stay on if there are any questions.
Okay, great. Ahmad, I responded.